Okay, here we go. So our deployment is complete, which means our VM has successfully been created, which includes all the, components of the virtual machine as well, which includes the network interfaces, assigned its public IP address, the virtual network, the VNets, the security groups, and all of that. So that's been done. So where do we go to access our virtual machine? Okay. So the next step here, as you can see underneath here, is to go to the resource. So a resource in Azure is whatever service that you set up. Okay. In this case, our resource is our virtual machine, which we just set up. So we'll go to a resource, and it will bring us to this page, which is uh, the page for the virtual machine that we just created. Okay. So currently, um, it's still setting up a few things. Let's see, even the server machine, it is not ready. That's fine. Let's see why. Okay, so I just give it some few minutes. But while it does that, I'm just going to show you a few things about the virtual machine that we just created before we log into it and see how it actually, if it actually works. Okay, so the first thing to understand is we selected the size, as you can see here. We created a Windows machine. You can see the operating system. It says Windows. You can see the public IP address that was assigned to that virtual machine. A virtual network was created, as you can see. We didn't set up a DNS name, but you can always do that at your own convenience at a later time. And just scroll down, you would see more details on the networking. You can see the details of the size, the disk. Auto shutdown is enabled, 7 p.m. West African time. We have security type, which is default. Okay, not much there. And this is just the basic details of your virtual machine. And here under monitoring, you can see details of the machine. We have, if we set up a lot, as I mentioned in the beginning, you can come here to enable them or create alert rules and all of that. And you can also check the performance of your virtual machine and how it's operating. Okay, this could tell you if you're having disk issues or CPU issues and all of that. We have the capabilities and all of that. On the left-hand side here, you see more details, more settings that you can use to configure your virtual machine to your specific needs. You guys can play around with that at your own time and just see how it actually works. You have the option to reset password, redeploy, and do all sorts. All right, it is your virtual machine that you create. Just keep in mind that if it's if you're working for a company and this goes into production, you can't really make changes unless you back things up or you work on it after hours when no one is utilizing that server or that virtual machine. All right, so we want to connect to it and see if it actually works. Okay, and how do we do that? You will see the option at the top here called connect. Let's click on that. Okay, it brings us to this page. And what we want to do is utilize our RDP to access our computer. Okay, so once you use the native RDP, we click on select here. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, it's gonna configure the native RDP for us, and the only thing we need to do is to click on download the RDP file. Okay, so the RDP file is gonna come fully set up, and all we need to do is connect. So I'm gonna download the RDP file. Say yes, keep. Okay, and then we open the file. When you open the file, this is what you would see. It will pop up the remote desktop connection for you, and it would look like this. Okay, we're connecting to the public IP address of the virtual machine that we just set up on Azure. Okay, and once we reach this point, we can say, okay, we know this particular publisher, so we say connect. It will bring up the credentials for us to log in. Okay, in this case, we are going to log in with the credentials that we created earlier to sign in. All right, and what was it? It was the Azure admin. We would enter the password that we set up in the beginning when creating the virtual machine. Okay. There we go. Do OK. If you enter the right credentials, it will bring you to this point where it would ask you, okay, the remote computer, could not be authenticated. Do you want to create a certificate for it? All you need to do is click on yes, and then it will try to connect to the virtual machine. Okay. If you can see here, it will pop up, a different window like this for you to access the virtual machine. I'm just gonna expand this so we can see. But it already looks like a Windows machine, coming on, and it's loading like a normal computer. If you buy a new computer, this is what you see. This is what you would need to set up. Okay, when you buy a normal computer, we're just going to do accept, and here we go. Your virtual machine is up and running. It's just like any normal computer. You can allow it to be discoverable on the network. This is useful in case you have an organization and you have a organization private network. You can select yes to allow other computers or other users in that organization to be able to access it. Okay, so we've successfully created an Azure virtual machine. This is exactly the same way you would create a server. It's exactly the same way you create a Linux machine, Ubuntu, an SQL database, whatever. It's that easy. We've just done it, and yeah, it's a computer. Everything you can do on your normal computer, local computer, you can do it on this virtual machine. It pretty much does it all, and yeah, you have all the resources of Microsoft at your disposal, which means you have good internet speed. You can access things and just work with your computer over the internet, accessible from anywhere. Okay, and how do you connect to it? All you need is the RDP file, and you will be able to connect. You need to know the IP address. Once you know the public IP, which is available on Azure, okay, it's right here. That's all you need to connect, and then you would need to input your credentials, and that's it. And it works just like this. So it's very easy. We've been able to successfully create a Azure virtual machine. It works around. You can play around with it. You can set up a few things. And we're just going to show you some of the things that we set up earlier, which is the compute resources of our machine. So we'll go to settings just to show us the details of the machine. Let's go to system. Go to about. Okay, so here you would see some of the details that we imputed when we were creating the virtual machine. One is the RAM, which we selected the B2MS, which gives us 8 gig of RAM, a 64-bit operating system. Okay, it's a Windows 10 Pro, and yeah, if you want to check the disk size, it's simple. Go to my PC here, and we can see that we did select 126 gigabyte of storage, okay, for the disk. All right, so we've successfully reached this point, which means you've created your first resource on Azure. Congratulations. And once you've done this, you are one step away from understanding how to create your resources and how to use a lot of services that are available on Microsoft Azure. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this, and then we can take a look at another resource that I would like us to to take a look. All right, so your virtual machine will always be under the virtual machine service. As you can see here, Windows Server. This is what we created earlier, and it will always be there, and you can always connect to it or turn it off at any point in time. If I want to turn this off now, I can just click on stop, and it will turn off the computer. Okay, which is what I want to do now. I'm going to click stop, Once I do that, it would automatically sign me out of it. See, easy. And now our computer is no longer online. Okay. All right, so that's enough for virtual machines. We're going to go into one more resource that we're going to try to set up, and then we'll wrap it up for Azure today. You can take a look at the link that was shared earlier, just to get a full detailed training on YouTube on Azure, and also take a look at a lot of other services that Azure has to offer. Before we go into the next resource, I did mention earlier that for an organization, you would have a list of users. You would want to create users to access your organization. You would want to create certain roles. You would want to specify accesses. And how do you do that? Okay, it's simple, very similar to Microsoft 365 as we touched earlier. And the good thing is it's connected. Okay, so if you set up Microsoft 365, it is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So automatically, when you're setting up Microsoft 365, you're automatically creating an Azure account in the background, which is the backbone for that service. All right. And how does that work? So you would see something called Microsoft Entra. This is the Azure Active Directory, just like your local Active Directory on your server, on your Windows server. Once we go into it, this is where we can create users, create groups, set roles, administrators, and just manage user accounts. Who has access to your platform? Who has access to your organization? And it's easy. If I come here, for me and for you, most likely, you would be the only one listed as a user. Okay. If I want someone else to have access to my Azure platform or for my organization, I can simply create a new user. All right, I can create a user or invite someone to have access to a particular service. I can just simply create a new user, input details, the domain name or whatever, and create. Okay, it's that easy. In this case, if you already have users created in Microsoft 365, and you log into Azure, which is portal.azure.com. This is the website to access your Azure portal. It's portal.azure.com. I'm going to share that later in the PowerPoint. You can use that to access Azure. You can sign in with your admin credentials on Microsoft 365, like the one that we created earlier. And you would see that you would get the same view, which is pretty straightforward. I forgot to mention that earlier. You can use that if you have the same organization, okay? So just to show you that everything in the Microsoft stack is intertwined, just to make connectivity and integration very easy for everyone, okay? So this is where you create users, you manage your users, password resets, user settings, and a lot of that, including, manage external identities. Those are guests that you invite into your organization, or just a random organization that you want them to have access to certain things. Okay, all right.